Hello and welcome to another pattern recognition video. So today I'm continuing this series of simplification patterns. So we have 10 puzzles. Pause at any time if you need more time to think. Yesterday's video was rated 500 to 750, so this one will be 750 to 1000, moving up higher in the beginner level. And with each video, I'll increase the difficulty a little bit. So the next one will be 1000 to 1250. All right, here we have black. They just moved the knight back here, and it's guarded by this bishop. Now, when you're trying to simplify down into a winning endgame, make sure you count up the material to see where you stand before you start trading pieces. We have 5 pawns versus 6. So we're ahead by 1 pawn already. But we have 3 minor pieces. They're worth about 3 pawns each. So 9 versus 2 rooks, which are worth 5 points each. So we're a little bit ahead with 2 rooks versus 3 pieces, although they do have the bishop pair. Now, if we can knock out 2 of their pieces for one of our rooks, that would be like trading 5 pawns for 6. So if we look at this knight that's under attack here by our rook, and it's defended by this bishop, maybe we can knock out the bishop and then take the knight. And also, this will be a checking move. Before you make any moves, and also, once your opponent makes a move, look and see if you or your opponent has any threats, and look for checks, captures, and threats in that order. Checks first because they're most forcing. So if we capture the bishop with check, first of all, the pawn will probably have to recapture. And that will give us time to go ahead and capture the knight. Otherwise, if the king runs, well then we can just retreat our rook away and just go up, even more in material. So capture, and we grab the knight here, pinning that bishop. So rook versus bishop in the endgame will do a lot of damage. The rook could drop back here and target this. If the bishop tries to move, there's a possibility of going after this, as long as the king is not lined up here with the rook. All right, on to the next problem. Okay, the black king has just stepped out of the way here. We had a check on the king, so it runs out of check. Now a discovered attack on our own rook. What can we do here? We have the white pieces, and it's 4 pawns versus 2, so we're definitely behind. But we may have an advantage, as we're very close to promoting here. 2 moves away, but so are they. 1, 2. But if we promote first, we'll be able to pick that pawn off when it promotes. So maybe they would prefer to try and promote this one. All right. A problem, though, may be if we exchange off the rooks first, the king will end up on the back rank, so that when we promote, we'll promote with a check, and that'll give us time to go back down here and try and attack these pawns down here. So I think that works. All right, so it ended it there. I mean, what could happen? Well, let's say this pawn pushes forward. We do have a possibility. That looks dangerous because one more move and it's going to promote. But we may be able to go here with check, then try and swing in behind the pawn, and attack these pawns from behind. All right, anyway, let's move on to the next one. We just had a capture here. What does the material look like? We have 7 pawns versus 7. The rest of the material is equal. We could just go up here and pick off this pawn. We have 2 attackers and only 1 defender, so that's a possibility. But let's see if there's anything better. Do we have any checks? Any checks that amount to anything? Not that I can see. And also, if we pick off this pawn, they could capture our queen, then our rook will end up here. I don't know, that looks pretty straightforward to me. But does it simplify down much? If we have 7 pawns versus 7, we'll go ahead by 1 pawn. Oh, and then we have an attack on this other pawn too. Unless the queen just drops straight back and keeps the defense. Well, that doesn't even work because we'll have the queen and the knight attacking. So that looks to be the best. So there we go. And now there could even be a threat of pushing this pawn forward, attacking the knight, which is defending the bishop here. Or we could just double rooks and help target that. All right, on to the next one. We have an attack on our bishop. Well, one way to ensure that we trade material down is look at those checks first. We could go here, capturing that knight. The queen would probably recapture. But let's look at everything, see if we have something better. We have 8 pawns versus 8. 4 minor pieces. So all the pieces are still on the board. Instead of just going after this knight and checking the king, maybe we have something better. Maybe we go after the bishop. Oh, okay, here's a better move. It's the theme of knocking out the defender. So, if we look at this, we have a knight defending this bishop. So if we knock that out with our bishop, now we're attacking their bishop with our knight. Now, it's true that they could capture, but then we could capture Or we capture. Okay, let's take a closer look at this. All right. We probably want to knock out the defender of this bishop. Then what are the options? Oh, if they try and take our knight, well, then our bishop will escape by attacking their knight. So that looks like that works. Capture. And then, well, now we can just go after this other bishop here. Then we'll just end up ahead in material. They'll be able to pick this off, but we'll still be ahead in material overall. All right, on to the next problem. A pawn is pushing forward, attacking our knight. What can we do here? Well, this doesn't work for white because we have their knight under attack, so that's why they counterattacked our knight. But our knight can escape the attack by capturing a bishop and forking queen and rook. And that would give us time to pick off their knight over here with our bishop. Now, let's double check everything before we decide on that course of action. We have 8 pawns versus 8. And we have 2 minor, so all the pieces are even. That looks to be the best way to go. We can just pick off that bishop, then go after their knight. So here we go. Easy simplification. Now we're just ahead that extra bishop. Okay, 5 more problems to go. The queen has just captured, what, a pawn here and attacking our queen. So, what can we do here? Do we have any good checks? Because, you can have a great attack by your opponent bearing down on you. But if they overlook a check, and it's a dangerous one, it could be a disaster for them. But I don't see any good checks at this point. So what can we do? Look at the position and look for checks, captures, and threats in that order. We don't have any good checks. So now we have to look at captures. Well, we could capture this knight with our knight. We could capture the queen with our queen. All right. Well, our queen is unprotected. We probably want to start things off by going after this queen. Then if they recapture, that gives us time to go after their knight with a discovered attack on their bishop. If they knock out our bishop, we still have time to capture their knight with check and then recover the bishop. So did you get all that? Hopefully you did. Feel free to leave comments at any time. Let me know what you think. If the videos are too easy for you, too hard, or if you would like more at this level. Now, I'm doing this series where I'm going to slowly bump the difficulty up about 250 rating points per video. So these, as I said, are 750 to 1000. So here we go. Capture. Then we go after the knight. Then we capture with check. That gives us time to regain our bishop here. And when the dust settles, we are ahead an extra knight. And then pawns, we have 5 versus 6. So we have a knight for their 1 extra pawn, and that should be enough to win. All right, on to the next problem. A rook is pressed forward here. perhaps helping protect this pawn, which is under attack by pawn and this battery and the rook. So we're really piling up on this. The queen is defending, so they have 3 defenders. We have 4 attackers. Now, is there anything else we can do? Anything else we can do? Maybe we could chase this bishop, and where would that go? The bishop would almost be trapped. If it backed up to here, after we push this pawn here and attack it, well, then we could push up the other one. So that might be a possibility. All right. Do we have any checks? I don't see any good checks. What pieces can we capture? We don't really have any captures other than pawn takes pawn, maybe. We start trading off a bunch of pieces here. So that might be a possibility. So as far as material, we have 7 pawns, or sorry, they have 7 pawns. We have 7 as well. So maybe we just go ahead and start trading here. If we capture, they would capture how? With the rook. We captured with the rook, then we would just come out ahead. So it looks like we can just go ahead and take that pawn. But they don't have to capture the pawn. What else could be played? Maybe they do have to capture that pawn, because otherwise the pawn is going to capture and then press up the board with a check. And then you have this mate threat with the bishop queen battery. All right, let's do it. Okay, now we probably want to continue our attack with a rook capture. Otherwise, if we capture with the queen, our queen will be picked off. So there we go. And after all those exchanges, we end up with the extra bishop here. So that should be enough to be winning, because we have bishop for bishop, but we have the extra knight. And pawns, we have 6 versus 6. So we're just up a piece. All right, 3 more puzzles to go. The queen has just captured the bishop on e5 here. What do we have? Oh, and now we're opposing one another. The queens are. So also there's a mate threat as well. So it looks like material wise, we're behind. It's 3 pawns versus 3. But our opponent has an extra knight and an extra rook. So we need to act immediately here. We can take the queen, and that would put us ahead. We just have to make sure that we have a way to run. So if we capture, if we have check, the king moves up, another rook checks, the king would have to move up again, or our king could maybe move over and down, but I don't know, he could be trapped on the back rank. Oh no, as soon as our king moves, the one rook will be under attack. So let's see. Capture the queen. If we have a check, could just move up. The other rook checks us. We have to go up again. And now what? Maybe the pawn comes down and checks us. But I think we'll be okay. And we can start moving our passed pawns. So let's try that. Oh, even better is to just go ahead and simplify down like that. All right. And now we just have an extra, well, we have a rook versus a knight, and these two passed pawns are going to be very dangerous. If the king tries to come over and stop these pawns, we could even cut the king off with the rook and start marching these pawns up. All right, on to the final two problems. We just had a capture. Now, there is a back rank mate threat, so always keep an eye out for those checks. Material-wise, it's 5 pawns versus 5, but we are behind a bishop for a rook. Oh, but we do have a little tactic here. We can capture the rook with check. And then they'll either have to run with their king, or if they capture, our bishop will capture. So there we go. And we're just ahead by a bishop now. All right, the final problem. Knight has just captured here, revealing a discovered attack on our queen. All right. Well, we have a discovered attack on our queen by their queen, but also the knight is attacking our queen. Now, if we're trying to simplify, we could just trade off queens here. But let's look at the material. We have 5 pawns versus 6. So we're down by a pawn. Oh, we may have an advantage here that we can use if we take the queen. If they just recapture with the pawn, then our rook that's under attack we could just go after that one, then go after the knight. But we have to look for checks. Always keep an eye on and be aware of checks. Because if we take their queen, what if they check us first by capturing here? Then we would have to capture. So, capture. Capture with check. We capture, getting rid of the check. And now, if they try and recapture the queen, or capture our queen here, we can go after their knight. So it looks like that works. Then we grab the knight, and we're ahead by this extra bishop here. All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed those 10 puzzles. Simplification patterns rated 750 to 1000. Feel free to leave any comments, like and subscribe to support the channel. Thank you for watching and have a super chess day.